Hello and welcome to all the Vapi users. Today I wanted to show a video that could be very helpful to other users when creating functions for their voice assistant. I know that there's a lot of confusion around this, and I kind of wanted to show how I'm troubleshooting or what I do in order to create my functions in a very streamlined process. Now, before I start with this, if you haven't seen my previous videos, I am doing everything from Vapi through a GPT that I've made. I do not use Postman or anything like that. So please go check out that prior video just for a little bit of context. And very soon, I'm actually coming out with a very in-depth tutorial on how you can use a GPT yourself to manage everything you're doing in Happy and streamline and automate about probably 90% of the process or more. So what I'm going to do is actually come into ChatGPT. I'm in the GPT that I created called My Vapi. And I'm not going to probably go through all of this entire conversation, but I just want to give context here and you guys can see what's happening. So like I said, this GPT is connected to my Vapi account. I can basically do everything that I want to do from here. I can create assistants. I can get that information. I can update them. I can create phone calls. I can do the whole 9 yards. And what I'm doing right now, as I'm editing a very fine-tuned detail instructions for the GPT to follow, I'm coming to the part where I'm, letting it know how to create functions inside of a request for a voice assistant. And all I did right now was, say like, hey, I want an example assistant that does customer service, and it's going to, do a booking, right? And really quick, just to give like a little bit more context, I kind of like troubleshoot a lot just in general when creating automations. I've been in the space for a long time, automating for about over 10 years. So my mind works very different. Some of these things that I might be doing might not make sense, but I hope it kind of helps and gives a little bit of perspective. So basically, this is, making the voice assistant. And if you're familiar with the API documentation, you can see that it's, doing everything that it needs to do for the required parameters and whatnot. So if you see error talking, that means there was a error request with the API call, like, and that's fine. It does that. What's cool about that is that it's going to show you like, oh, this is what needs to be corrected. This is what I need to do, right? And it's going to do that in general with anything you do from the API. So it said another error and it said, hey, look, I messed up on the second part. I need to put this, and it's going to put that information, right? So it actually, made the API call and it actually made the assistant from here. I'm actually looking at that data, right? Um, so I'm just talking to it again and telling it to update some things and do whatever. And now I'm getting to the point where I wanted to, create a function. Now, what's really cool about this, let me, go back up. So it said it made the function. I mean, well, it gave an error again, right? It said like, hey, there was a error picking like which model the voice, right? So it's literally selecting every voice. These are the same ones that you see in the documentation. I could have specified any voice, but I didn't. It troubleshooted all of this by itself, right? So it came down here, it came down here. Once again, it gave another error. It said, okay, look, you know what? What we need to do is like grab the list of all the assistants and then, figure out which one it is. So it grabbed the list of the assistant and said, like, okay, this is what we need to do, right? So, it gave a couple errors again, and then it ended up talking to them. So it said, like, list all of the assistants, right? So it listed all the assistants and did that. And what I wanted it to do was create the function, right? So as it was creating the function, I could, check the assistant ID again. And going back to what I said, right? Saying like list all the assistants, then retrieve, that. Okay, it did that, right? Then it said like, hey, this assistant already has a function. This is what it is. And I'm going now. I actually am going into the dashboard to look at the function because I hope this makes sense. You can create the function within ChatGPT to do what you want, and it's automatically going to appear inside of the dashboard with everything you need, right? So, and I want this process to be streamlined where it gets it right literally about 95% of the time, which normally it does. So we're going through that. it gives me some JavaScript, which I don't need. I say, hey, like JavaScript's not needed. It's only, JSON. It says, okay, here's what this is or whatever, right? It gives me this with dynamic variables, et cetera, et cetera. Now, here's a part where I want to get to where might be a little bit of confusion and things like that. So when you create the function, like it's inside of a Vapi, right? So if I come here to functions, and I need to go right here to Emma. So I'm going to come to functions. Right here's my function right here. Like I've set up the function, and then if I come inside of here and actually look at like the sample data, right? Like here's the sample data. So from the function that we created, like it knows to, like this is the output that it's doing, right? And if I go into make, for example, and I'm just going to send this data right now. So I'm going to do test endpoint. It's going to say test connected. And then right now that automation just ran, and I can see the information that came from here. So it'll take a little while to upload. So I can come right here. I can see that this is a bundle, right? I can see that it has a message, right? It has all the information about the call. And then I have the function, and then it has the parameters. And then the parameters are what we saw right here, right? And I'm going to show you like you're doing everything correct, but now we want, to see this function call here. Now, what I do is, and I'm sure everybody does, but I would suggest this. In your function, it can have its own server URL. So what you do is you create a webhook, right? You copy this server URL and you put it inside of here. And when you do this, you do a test like I just did, and you know that it's connected. You know that it's sending information. Now comes to the point of like testing this function to make sure it does what it needs to do. So I'm going to show, like I have already obviously created this assistant. It's very simple. I didn't do anything complex. I'm just showing that this assistant is going to book a call. Book a meeting. And when it books that meeting, the function is triggered and it saves that information, right? Now, the next step of that and what everybody's kind of already doing and showing is, the API call being made to a specific platform like Go High Level and something else. I'll show that in the next steps. But right now, what I just want to show is like you want to make a function, right? And you want to test to see, if it's working or what you're going to do and, things like that. So what we're going to do is publish this. For some reason, that's being weird, but it's okay. And we're going to come to the assistant real quick and we're going to do like a test call. And I'm hoping that you guys can hear this test call, but if you can't, that's fine. We're going to come back here and we're just going to run this and have it waiting, right? So let's go. I am looking to schedule a meeting about automations. Can I set up a time for Monday at 10 o'clock a.m.? Yeah, I am very interested in automating my lead generation process. Yes, yes, that's correct. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So, the last part of that, like, I actually think that went very well. The only thing that the assistant did not do was hang up the phone after um, saying thank you, have a good day, and a little bit of talking after the meeting. But that's because I like really haven't defined that probably the best way that I can. So I do want to notate that, right? That's not really important to me as I record this video for you guys now, but yes, it is possible to do that, right? But the whole thing of what happened is that we saw this running and we saw it pull that information of what I wanted. I wanted the meeting to happen on Monday at 10 o'clock a.m. and I want to discuss automating lead generation process with Thailand. So I kind of hope that this makes a little bit more sense or was helpful as I've kind of been helping people inside of the Vapi community when it comes to function calling. I know that there's some confusion there. Um, I'm going to be, like I said, making a way longer advanced video about this. Once again, I do everything inside of GPT, so it's all one swift process. I don't have to go back and forth to multiple things, to the Vabi dashboard as much, or to Postman, or to websites to help me structure JSON. And I'm not saying those things aren't bad. I just know that most of us are using ChatGPT inside of our workflows. So why not make that streamlined and have ChatGPT do leverage, most of the work for us and automate that. I hope this has been a helpful video when it comes to creating functions. And until next time.